Is a Google Classroom training, and I'm going to jump right to it. Fortunately, since this is recorded, I know I speak quickly, but you can stop and start as needed since it is a recording. You'll have your slide line so that you can control. So to get to Google Classroom, couple of ways. You can either go to your URL field and type in classroom.google.com. That, in fact, is the naming convention of all Google apps. Should you want to go to Docs, you can type in docs.google.com, sheets.google.com, and so forth. A possibly easier way is with any Google search page. There's that little mini app grid that we see in the upper right hand corner called Waffle. It's developing all kinds of new nicknames. So you can click on that and find Classroom right in that location. Remember, all of these icons are organizable. They're drag and droppable. These are all new words, and so that you can organize those as best suits your needs. Google Classroom, of course, is a little Blackboard, and you just click on it to launch. Takes you right to the home screen of Google Classroom, and each box that you find here is a class that's been created. There's no limit to the number of classes that you create, so you can have multiple ones for practice, for groups with adults, for your students. So it's just an online collaborative secure learning environment. So at the home screen, there's a couple of things that I wanted to point out. There's a menu in the upper left-hand corner with three lines. If I click on that, that gives me ready access to all of the classes that I've created previously. And at the bottom of this menu, it's important to note there is the settings right here. When I click on settings, that gives me access to the notifications process. When you first start using Google Classroom, you'll find that you're notified by email or message every time a student has submitted something, every time you've made an announcement for every little thing. And at first you think, oh, this is great. Then after about 5 minutes, you're like, stop the madness. So if you need to stop those notifications, you can go in here, and the top item is notifications email. That's the master switch. So you can turn everything off if you want, or Google has made it conveniently accessible below to toggle individual items on and off, whatever works best for you. So I'm going to leave those on for now. But this menu, which is always available regardless of what screen you're on, is under the settings at that home screen menu. So go back to classes. I'm going to jump in and show you how to create a class. You simply go over to the plus sign. When I click on plus, I have the option of joining a class or creating a class. And students will only see join class. Then there's my little mini app grid again, and the I'm going to go ahead and create a class, and this will be practice online. The name of the class is required. The other elements down here, section, that is optional. Subject is optional. Room is optional. And then once you click on the create button, you can see in about 2 seconds you can create a Google Classroom, and it puts us into that classroom shell. So once we are into that shell, it arbitrarily assigns you a color scheme, which I'll show you how to change if you don't like it. And again, here's that drop down menu always present. And whoops, I came out of it, so let me jump back in. Whenever you create a new classroom, it puts it at the beginning of the lot. Also, worth mentioning, you'll notice as my mouse hovers over the name of the class, it becomes a link, so that's how you can always go back to your home screen. Within Google Classroom, this is the new class we created, and there are four primary elements. Stream, which is the active screen now, kind of like your main Facebook feed, as indicated by the bar under it. There's classwork. This is where we would add our content, and Google conveniently puts little instructions everywhere, so that's quite easy. This is where we will create assignments. You can do quizzes, material posting, questions, that sort of thing. Then we go to people. This is where you would add individuals to your classroom. For students, works the same as with teachers. You click on that and you can simply start typing in the first few letters of the first name or the last name. They come up. You can actually type a lot in there very quickly and then click invite when you've completed that process. Teachers works just the same. You can add teachers. So you might have a sped teacher that needs to have access to your classroom to support students that are on that caseload. So you can do that. You can add co-teachers, you can add whoever you want to, as long as they are within your domain. So that would be the school domain. So you can't add parents, that's to say. So I'm going to cancel that now. Pretty straightforward. Grades, we have nothing, we have not submitted anything, so we don't have anything on this screen. This creates as you go along and submit assignments, grade them, return them. It builds a spreadsheet so you can have a quick overview as to the grades that you're seeing. Over on the very far right, there's also a little cogwheel that has to do with the settings of the class. So you can go in here and you might double check when you're starting the class if all is as you wish it, has the details. If you want to actually change any of those elements, you can do that and save them here. Class code. This is where, sorry, went out of that. Let's go back in. This is where you could, if you needed to reset a class code or disable it. Sometimes there are those characters like a one or a lowercase l. You might that might not be clear for your students. So if you want to reset it, it'll just generate a new little. That's also a difficult one. Reset and give you a new class code. That looks pretty straightforward for students to understand. This is where you can control all of these settings. You can also set the defaults for your grading process here as well. So that's in your class settings. I'm going to go back to our main stream. So that's the top we've covered. And then here is our banner. Here is also the class code. This is one way that you can add students in addition to through the people. You can click on the class code, and if you happen to be in a setting where people are present, you can make that very large so that they can readily see that. That class code you can supply to students and they can just type it in. They click on join class after they've launched Google Classroom and they can type in that code and join your class that way as well. So that's the class code. Over here, select theme allows you to change the color scheme of your class if you like. This looks promising. Graduation caps, I'm going to change that. You have different categories up here. And so it automatically changes that. If anybody's in your classroom doing work, and you're changing the theme, because you're waiting for them to finish, for example, it doesn't affect their participation in the least. You can also, under select them as upload photo, you could click and upload a photo. You might have a great little banner shot of your student faces. Little kids get excited about this, secondary less so. And so you could use that as your banner, an actual picture of your classroom or the front of your school, whatever you like. Bear in mind that if you're using Google Classroom in your school district, you can do this even if you have students who are not to have photos published, because Google Classroom's security, all the Google apps are very secure, and this is viewed as an extension of the classroom, so it's a very secure environment. Only those within your domain can access it, so you can use those photos. So we're down here and we're here to do some work. So I'm going to jump right to classwork to show you how you would upload your information. So I'm going to start by creating a question. These may be the two most commonly used items, question and assignment. Those were the original items that were available. We didn't have other options. So I'm going to start with a question. Question is somewhat like if you worked in Blackboard or WebCT or eCollege, some of these online learning management systems in higher ed. It is a way to generate some discussion. And so we're working collaboratively with our students. So this is open to students so they can give feedback to one another. So you type in your question. I'm actually going to type something. Below, you can type in your instructions. Students, please respond to this with perfect grammar, perfect writing, and show me how brilliant you are. So there's your instructions. There's really not a limit to that, however much you want to offer. Right next to the question, you'll see you have the option of making this a short answer or multiple choice. If you choose multiple choice, you get the options down here that you can offer. And each time you click on an option, it gives you another option. and you can continue to add options, however many that you want. So that's one possibility. For now, I'm just going to change this back to short answer. And we've typed in our question and we're ready to look further. I want to add some content for this as well. So under the instructions, there's the add button. And so I have several options. When I click on this, I can go to Google Drive, link, file, YouTube. Google File and Google Drive and the file take you to the same location basically. So if you have something from your Google Drive that you want to add, then you can just navigate through there however you want to. Here is, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to add. Let me just do, here's a handout from a meeting. I'm going to add this, and then I could go back and I could continually add more items at the same time I'm on my drive or after the fact. And you'll see then if I go down to File, I said Google Drive and Google File take you to the same location, takes me back to the same location. So I can go to move between recent upload, my drive, which is where I was, or I can also either even move this window over and drag something from my desktop if I wanted to upload. So I click on upload. So I can drag and drop. Let me just do a screenshot of a nice apple. There we go. Give it a minute to come up. And I don't want to edit that. So here's a screenshot. I can just drag and drop. I can drag and drop any kind of file. It can be a movie, it can be an audio, it can be a Word document, it can be any kind of file that I choose. And so I just drag that up twice. So you can drag that up and use that. So there we go. Here's my attachments for my class. You also now have the option to create anything originally right here. So that is pretty straightforward. Over on the right-hand side, I can, once I'm ready to submit this question, make it available on Google Classroom, I could either make this available for multiple classes. This is very handy if you're a secondary teacher where you do have 6 periods a day or 7 periods, whatever it might be, 5 periods. I can do that to multiple classes, so you just do it once. Or I can also supply it to all students or some students. It shows me right now, normally it would show me if I have students added to this, it would give me the option of checking or unchecking the box next to their name. So since this is a sample class, I'm going to go ahead and submit this. I'm going to take you in and show you a class that does have some students and some work, so you can see what that looks like with when it actually has people in it. I can also have it, it's graded by default. It is set up to be graded on 100 points. You can change that if you want to. You can also make it an ungraded assignment. You can give it a due date. If you click on that, you have access to the calendar, so you can make the due date whenever you choose and set a time as well. Sometimes that's a good thing. You will get notifications, and students will get notification if you do have a due date. I'm going to take it off right now and not use that. Sometimes that's good. You know, we've all been at that point, 11:59, and you're trying to submit that paper into Blackboard, so you're working very, very hard. That might be a motivation that works for students. So it's your choice. You can have a topic, you don't have to have a topic. I would recommend creating topics because it's a way that you can, I mean, it's a way you can organize your content later and filter through and just keep everything organized. You have the option of students turned on by default. The students can reply to each other and students can edit answers. So that's turned off, that's turned on by default. You just literally check the button to have it however you want to. The students can reply to each other. This is a great way to teach them how to provide productive feedback to one another. And then students can edit their answer. You might want to test this as you go into your classroom. You ask a big global question about what you're going to be teaching that day and have them post what they think their response is. And the whole class can see this question, remember, but students won't see the response of other students until they post their response. So in case you're fearful that the struggling kids are going to wait for the smart kids to put their answer, they can't see until they post their answer. So And then students can edit answer. Then after you've taught and hopefully the light bulbs have gone off, and then you can provide, if you check this button, students can go back later and modify their answer. And then you can see at a glance if they got it or not, or if you have to pull students aside to reteach. So we're all ready to go. So we've just literally filled in the blanks on this page, and I'm ready to ask it. That would be posted immediately to the classroom. I also have this drop down menu next to ask, so I could schedule it in advance. You could, for example, you have to do focus questions on a weekly basis. I'm assuming most schools do that still. And you could do them all for the rest of the school year. So you you do it once and you forget it. So even if you have a sub coming in, you don't lose any kind of teaching time. It will just appear when you told it to, when you created it at the beginning of the school year. You can also save it as a draft and go and work on it later. Say you want to develop it more, have some more resources and what have you. So you can do that, or you can discard it. So right now I'm going to ask it. So when I click ask, it goes ahead and it posts it to our classroom. And I was in classwork, so here it shows me that I posted it. To go into it, to look at it again, I can either click on this bar, which becomes a link, and I can go in and view that question. This is a kind of an abbreviated window, so that if I've assigned it to students, I can see who's turned it in, who's not. I can go in and look at the status of their work. I can click on view question, which takes me to the grading tool for that. And that's what that looks like. To go back to my home screen, you don't want to get lost. Remember, the name of the class is the link that takes you back to the home screen. So I'm back at the stream. And you'll see here, the classwork shows me the question, but also the stream does. So I can access it from here or the classwork page. So I am going to go back. I'm actually going to go to another class that has some students in it so that I can show you from a previous training. Here's one, Parkview, first grade heroes, 5 students. We're going to go into this classroom where I had some trainer. We were just playing around with different assignments so you can see what that looks like. So on stream, here are different things that were submitted. You can see now what the people look like. You can also see grades because we played around with that, and it creates a little spreadsheet with your assignments. You can do some editing here if you wanted to go in and change grades, and so that's what that's going to look like. I'm going to go back into classwork, and I do want to show you something for the assignment. So if I create, actually, let me show you first material. Material doesn't require any interaction. It is just posting material. That could be posting a spelling list so that parents can watch as students are logging on. They can see the spelling words for the week, or they can see the upcoming calendar, or whatever kind of information, or a video of something that you've submitted. And so you can post that material, and then I think you know what, I'm going to do assignment first. And we're going to call this a writing assignment. Here's your instructions. I put that in. I'm going to add information. I just realized I showed you Google Drive and File. I didn't show you the link or the YouTube. So this is also present on the question as well. The difference in question and assignment is private for one student. So only you and that student can see that because that's their individual work. And so even though it looks the same as a question, we don't have that conversational capability with students. So this is a good time to show you a link. So on the link, and I can add a link from anything I've uploaded to Google Drive has a physical, so to speak, address. So it has, you've seen that phrase, get shareable link. You can get that link and add it so it's a quick reference, or you might want to add some reference materials for students. So I think I have pulled up OWL University, the writing lab, which is very handy. I can copy that and I can paste that into this link, and that is added to that assignment so that they have ready access to that. I could also add, the other thing I didn't show was YouTube. Google owns YouTube, has for a number of years, of course. And so you might have a URL. You already know what that URL is. So click on that and just paste that URL into the link and add it. You might not have selected a video. So this takes you, the video search, to um, actually it's the same as doing a YouTube search online. And so it brings up the gazillion of responses that you would imagine when you do any kind of Google or YouTube search. So you'll want to be probably as specific as possible in your search parameters so you don't have to review 3 million responses. You can preview these if you want to, or I'm just going to select one right now. Teddy Bear's Funny Episodes. This looks pretty safe. So I'm going to add this. And so there's my video, and it's been added to this question. Now, I also want to add, this is a writing lesson we're pretending, and so I am going to add a writing prompt that I have created previously. Now, I could do that from my drive. In fact, I probably have, this is probably a writing prompt here, or I have one on my desktop, so I can drag and drop it on the upload, or I've just gone to my drive. I'm just going to select that and add that. One important thing to point out at this point, if you want them to use something that you're supplying them with, some sort of template, writing prompt, worksheet that you've created, when I upload this, before I assign this lesson, I want to go here to the right, and I have the option of students can view the file, or students can edit the file, or make a copy for each student. When you're starting out, I would highly recommend to make a copy for each student. That way, it puts that individual document, an individual copy on each student's Google Drive. So when they open that up, they're going to see that. They can immediately edit it. They have a turn in button that they're going to send it to you, and it comes to you with all the information you need, the student's first name, last name, their email account, with all of that attached. So you don't have to depend upon them to download a copy, edit it, rename it. That's a nightmare. Not that students ever forget to put their names on papers, even seniors, right? So this is a handy way to forego that. So make a copy for each student, would recommend that. On the right-hand side, we still have the same options. I could assign this to all to multiple classes or a single class, all students or certain students here. And then I can here scale the grade, due date, topic again. We've created some previously. You probably want to keep it organized. This is the topic. It's a writing assignment. And you can attach a rubric if that is pertinent. You can do that. And then the same options apply. I can schedule this to appear in their Google Classroom in the future, or immediately assign it. So I'm going to immediately assign it. So once it assigns it, it takes you back to your previous screen. So here we are. I'm in classwork, and these are all of the assignments. The most recent has appeared here at the top. And again, if I want to go into that, I open it up. I have the abbreviated window. I can see it's been assigned, but nobody's turned it in. And then if I want to view the assignment, in fact, I'm going to go back and view a previous assignment that we did live so that you can see what that looks like. So I want to go into the question. I can see at a glance here that it was assigned, 3 were graded. So I want to go in and view that question. So I'm back in that grading tool where I see my teachers, and I'm going to go ahead and just give them a made up grade. I better give them good grades because these are great teachers. So once I've graded it, they will not see it until I return it to them. On the way to returning it to them, I can actually offer them a private comment if I wanted to, like great work, love your writing, that sort of thing. And once I return it, then they will see their grades that will appear. So while I'm in the grading tool pertaining to this particular assignment, I do have the option, in addition to the grades, you remember that we see over here, in that, sorry, you normally don't want to use the back button on your browser, but you want to just go back and forth within the interface. So within that grading tool, there's another little cogwheel or gear in the upper right-hand corner, and this pertains to the page I'm on. So when I click on that, I do have the option to download all my grades as a CSV, which is just a spreadsheet format. But I can also, this is my favorite, I can copy all grades to Google Sheets. When I do that, it automatically creates a Google Sheets for me. and loads it in a different tab in my browser. It's coming up right here. And it literally just builds on to the other assignments that I've provided my students with. And I can see at a glance what the assignment was, the grades, and it's just a spreadsheet. Again, it's in another tab right here. You can see that. Let me move this here. And here's the tab for my classroom. Here's the Google Sheets tab. You can leave it open. It automatically saves everything. You don't have to worry about this. And this is a great way to just copy and paste grades into Skyward or whatever your student information system is. And so that's kind of a neat function there. So I'm going to go back to my home class. And I think as far as classwork goes, topic material, I think that covers the basics, and that is all for now. I'm going to do another training about Google Forms, which are the quiz assignments that are fully integrated with Google Classroom. If you have any questions, Google has some great help files. And on the main screen, down in the lower left-hand corner, there's a question mark. And when I click that, I get the Help Center, what's new if you want to know that. Help Center is great. You can type in anything, and it literally just answers any of your questions. It's a very thorough help field. So that's it for now. We'll be in touch. Thanks.